Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're going to completely flip everything you thought you knew about farming. Because the biggest takeaway I want you to have right out of the gate is this. You absolutely do not need land to make farm money. Seriously, you just need 12 square meters. That's about 130 square feet. Literally the size of a small bedroom, maybe a corner of your garage or a basement. And with the right system, that tiny little footprint can generate some very serious, highly predictable revenue. So to really get this business model, you have to wrap your head around one massive perspective shift. Chefs aren't paying for lettuce. They are paying for time. When a restaurant buys a tray of microgreens, they aren't just buying a vegetable. Think about it. That tray of pea shoots was literally just seeds 10 days ago. Today, a restaurant in Ohio will gladly pay $23 for that pound. That's $51 per kilo. Over in Berlin, that exact same tray sells for 30 euros a kilo, which is roughly 13.60 euros per pound. You've got to stop thinking of farming as these massive flat fields that take months to yield a single crop. The whole reason this model works so well is vertical growing. See, most beginners try to grow flat on tables, and well, that's exactly why they fail. You need to think of your space like a giant printer, not a field. A printer stacks paper, right? Well, you stack light. You're trading acres and months for square meters and days. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The small space advantage. 2. The biology of profit. 3. The 4 cash crops. 4. The microgreens math. And 5. Your first 30 days. All right, diving right into section 1, the small space advantage, where we maximize those 12 square meters. Look at it this way. One floor gives you 12 square meters. But if you add 5 shelves, boom, you suddenly have 60 square meters of canopy. That's about 645 square feet of actual growing area. Research from Lancaster University actually shows that vertical systems can yield a crazy 95 kilos per square meter, compared to just 6.9 kilos if you grow flat. I mean, that's almost 14 times more food from the exact same floor space. In real commercial farms, leafy greens consistently hit 4 to 12 kilos per square meter per harvest. That's 8.8 to 26.4 pounds. That density, that is the absolute secret here. Moving right along to section 2, the biology of profit, which is all about selling density. The sheer size of the demand out there is just staggering. The global microgreens market was sitting at $3.34 billion in 2026, and it's rocketing toward $5.71 billion by 2031. In the U.S. alone, it's a $1.62 billion slice that's expected to grow to $2.69 billion. And interestingly, Europe actually leads the demand for specific varieties like radish and broccoli microgreens. So this isn't some fleeting TikTok trend, you guys. It's a massive structural supply chain gap just waiting to be filled. Now you might be wondering, why microgreens? Why not just grow regular, full-size lettuce? Well, it all comes down to biology. Microgreens are harvested right at day 7 to 10. That is exactly when the plant has its absolute peak flavor and peak nutrition, but almost zero bulk. So you get paid for density, not weight. Because of that fast turnaround, you can turn a single tray 3 times a month instead of just once. And restaurants will happily pay $20 to $26 a pound in the US, which is $44 to $57 per kilo, simply because it was cut that very morning, maybe just 3 miles away. Okay, section 3, the 4 cash crops. The golden rule here, keep it simple. Please, whatever you do not go out and try to grow 20 different things. You only need to grow 4. Restaurants only reorder these 4 consistently. First up, pea shoots. They take 10 days, yield about 250 grams per tray. That's 0.55 pounds. They're sweet, crunchy, and honestly almost impossible to kill. Second, radish mix. 7 days, again about 250 grams or 0.55 pounds a tray. It's spicy and it is absolutely your fastest cash. Third is sunflower. 10 days, about 310 grams per tray or 0.68 pounds. It has this great nutty flavor, and U.S. steakhouses absolutely love it. Finally, baby salad mix. Things like mizuna, tatsoi, red mustard. 14 days, about 170 grams per tray, 0.37 pounds. This one is perfect for European bistros. So, if you average it out across all 4 crops, you're looking at about 250 grams per tray. That's just over half a pound. I really want to hammer this point home. That is your true unit of money, not the trays, the grams. Tracking every single tray by its gram yield is exactly how you treat this like a highly optimized business rather than just a hobby. Let's dive into section 4, the microgreens math, where we break down the unit economics.
All right, let's run the actual numbers. A 12 square meter basement fits about 320 trays if you're using 5-tier racks. With a 10-day average growth cycle, you're seeding and harvesting 32 trays every single day. 32 trays times 250 grams equals 8 kilos or 17.6 pounds per day. Work 26 days a month, because, take Sundays off, you deserve it, and you'll grow 208 kilos. That's 458 pounds. Now, assume a totally normal 5% waste factor, and that leaves you with 198 kilos, or 436 pounds of sellable product every single month.
So, what does that actually look like in dollars and euros? If you sell that exact same volume in the US at $23.50 a pound, that's $10,237 gross per month. Over in the EU, at 30 euros per kilo, that's about 5,940 euros, or roughly $6,470. Same exact work, completely different regional pricing. That's why US growers hit the 10,000 mark faster, but in Europe, you only need about 12 to 14 restaurants to buy your stock instead of 8 to 10. And this isn't just theory, guys. Small space growers are already documenting making $800 a week, about 730 euros. Even tiny little bedroom setups prove that $500 a month, around 460 euros, is the absolute floor. Now, I know you're probably thinking, yeah, but what about overhead eating into all that revenue? Well, your actual monthly operating costs, including seeds, electricity, packaging, the whole shebang, are roughly $1,000 to $1,200. That leaves you right on track with an absolutely incredible 89% gross margin. And remember, this whole operation requires maybe 20 to 25 hours per week. It is a highly profitable part-time production job, not just passive income. Finally, Section 5, your first 30 days. Let's talk about the step-by-step launch. But before I give you the exact playbook, I've got to ask you a critical question. What is the number one killer in week 2? There is a massive threat that ruins most beginners before they even make their very first sale. Spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with your expensive lights. It's humidity. Around day 11, your beautiful tray of sunflower microgreens can suddenly sprout this lovely, completely devastating white fuzz. And boom, you lose 40 trays overnight. The easy, no-brainer fix, just go buy a $140 dehumidifier on day 1. Set it to 55% and protect your entire investment. Look, you absolutely do not need $12,000 on day 1 to start this. You can start with just 2 racks. That's under $2,000, or about 1,800 euros. You just need some simple NSF wire racks, 4 80-watt LED bars for each shelf, that dehumidifier, and 1 small oscillating fan per rack. That's literally it. For some context, a full 10-rack professional room later on will run you about $7,500 to $12,000, or $6,900 to €11,000 euros. Start small. All right, when it's finally time to actually sell your product, your approach has to match your market. Pitching is incredibly regional. US chefs, they prefer a direct walk-in, ideally between 2 and 4 p.m. on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Bring a clear 4-compartment box and just drop a free sample. But European chefs respond totally differently. They like a targeted email first. Highlight your story, mention your 0 food miles, and ask if you can drop off a sample on a Thursday morning. Here is your literal 4-week game plan. Week 1, build those 2 racks and plant only peas and radish so you can safely learn your water usage. Week 2, head out, do 15 sample drops and target 3 standing orders. Week 3, add in your sunflower and your salad mix and go ahead and start a waitlist for local families. By week 4, you are harvesting daily and you take those very first profits to reinvest in racks 3 and 4, scale purely from your profit. At the end of the day, the real lesson in all of this isn't actually about gardening at all. It's about maximizing density over time in a completely different way than traditional agriculture. Every single tray is literally money, and you are basically accelerating the timeline of nature to create massive margins. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Are you going to keep waiting around for massive capital and acres of land to start a business? Or are you ready to start thinking in square meters and days and start stacking light? Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Now go turn that spare room into a highly profitable farm.